Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of Heal with San. Sanya, Sanja, you know the drill. You can call it whatever you want. Today I'm going to talk about something that's been hard for me to talk about, something a little bit shameful that I did growing up. I lied growing up about my background because I went to a predominantly white elementary school, and me and my brother were, and a few other, there was a handful of us that were picked on, and it was just a hard time. So going into grade 9, I had a friend that's a very close friend of mine, still to this day actually. Growing up, she was her and her mom and her dad were like a second family to my mom and my brother and I, and they actually helped raise me and my brother. So they were Spanish, Argentinian, and she knew what I was going through in elementary school, and she was like, you know what, if these people have something to say about your background or whatever, say you're Spanish, and if they have something to say, they can say it to my face, which is her, and just tell them that I'm your stepsister. So that's what I did. And obviously in elementary school, that passed, and going into grade 9, I automatically was ready, and I started this new persona of being Spanish, which is crazy and sad at the same time because I never really gave a chance to my Indian side. Growing up, my dad left when I was very young. Me and my brother were both very young, so I didn't really know much about the Indian culture. And yes, I definitely feel as though I could have myself looked into it and found out more about it and read up on my history and kind of got to know the Indian culture a little bit more. So when people would come up to me and ask me, what's your background? And I would say Indian and Italian, everybody's face would be in shock. And then I would get drilled about where in India I'm from, and do I practice the Indian religion, and what do I know about it? And I didn't know anything. So being Spanish was a lot easier because I knew about the Spanish culture a lot more growing up with my friend who helped me and her family. We were with them all the time. I was with her all the time. So I got to know a lot more about the Spanish culture, the language, the food, just everything about the Spanish culture. And it was also Catholic. So coming from a predominantly Catholic household, it was easier for me to say I'm Spanish because there's not very much of a difference from the Catholic religion to there's no difference because they're both Catholic. So it was just easier. I do regret it. I definitely regret, because I felt like I went through a whole year. I think my whole grade 9 was me being half Spanish and half Italian. And I some of my friends, I think they found out 5-10 years ago that I was actually Indian and not Spanish, which was hard to say. How am I gonna come out and be oh yeah, I'm not Spanish, FYI. But I did, and now knowing a little bit more about my heritage on my Indian side, I feel more comfortable. So when my brother came to high school, he came with a lot of the kids from our elementary school, and they obviously knew that we were not Spanish. So when they got there and he was being told he was Spanish, oh, I know your sister, and whatever, you're Spanish, whatever, he didn't know what the hell to do. And that that's something that I will probably regret my whole life, was kind of lying about that big part of my life. So that's something that was hard for me to stop doing also, because I just got so used to it. It just became like so easy just to say, like, I'm Spanish, but I'm not. Grade 10 is when I kind of, well, my brother like had to deal with a lot of that. He was in grade 9 and I was in grade 10, so that was when I started to I didn't even really start to say I was Indian then either. I think it kind of just got swept under the rug, and people would say whatever they wanted to say and believe whatever they wanted to believe, and that was it. But that was something that till I think I was the age of 20, like I think I still lied about it in my 20s as well to a few people. I think I lied about it in the beginning of a relationship, but he found out like right away. He found out that it was like I was Indian. It was just so hard for me because I like right when I would tell somebody that I was Indian, a whole bunch of especially if it was a fellow Indian person, like a whole bunch of questions would just be thrown at me, like, where are you from in India? Like, where is your dad from? What do you believe? And blah blah blah. And I was just like, I don't know, like I don't know, but I know now that he is Hindu, so that's pretty cool. We talked a lot, and I got to know a little bit more about where I came from, so I feel comfortable. I feel so comfortable in my own skin. And as I was saying in my last video, that I just started to feel myself in my 30s. It's the truth, because I finally feel like I know who I am, and it's been a while, but like I know who I am, and I'm Indian and Italian, and it's a unique thing, and that's something that I realize like now, now when I say it, I'm not ashamed or embarrassed or anything. I'm just like, I'm proud to be Indian and Italian, because there's not very many of me and my brother, so it's something just really eye-opening, like not to hide from your true self. And I know people do that every day. People do that even with glasses growing up too. Like, nobody really liked glasses, and like it was like you were the odd child out, and if you had glasses you were a nerd or you were weird or whatever. And now people wear glasses for fashion. They don't even need glasses, they just wear them for fashion or a whole bunch of things. I've just gotten so comfortable with myself and my background, and I just know for a fact that you should be happy in your own skin. And if you're Indian, you should be happy about it. If you're Italian, you should be happy about it. If anything, just be happy with who you are. If you're not, it might take a while, but you'll get there. And when you get there, you'll feel 1,000 times lighter and 1,000 times better. The weight that has come off of my shoulders from like holding this lie about being Spanish is like a crazy weight. Like when I told my friends, I remember calling them like 10 years ago and like telling 2 close friends of mine, like, do you know that I'm not Spanish, I'm Indian? And they were like in shock for a little bit. They were like, what? Like but like it didn't change anything. Like it didn't change how they looked at me or how they viewed me or anything. But I know like kids are cruel, and back then when there wasn't like, when it was very like hard to be different. I feel like now it's easier. I feel like kids are like, there's a whole bunch of different types of people, and like everybody knows who they kind of are, and they're not ashamed of it. I don't know how it is in schools and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it's still hard for a lot of people to be able to be their true selves, which makes me really sad. But if you're Indian and you feel like you need to hide or you're embarrassed or whatever, you shouldn't be, because it's a beautiful culture and people are beautiful and you should just be yourself. So that's one thing for sure that I will regret, and one thing I healed from definitely is just being proud of who I am. And that's all there is to that. So if you are being bullied, or you are unsure of who you are, or you're trying to figure it out, or you're hiding a big secret about your life or anything like that, try really, really, really hard to see if you can make a change in yourself, to see what you could do to be proud of who you are. Like for me, after I talked to my dad is when I started to kind of get more comfortable with being Indian, because I started to get to know a little bit about it. So I felt like that was a big thing for me. Actually, that's not even that true, because when I told my friends from high school, a few of them, that I was Indian, I wasn't really talking to him then. So I think it was just like, yeah, it was just about time at that time, like 10 years ago. Even like Ubers are really funny, because like as soon as I get into an Uber, they're usually like, oh, Sonia, are you Indian? And 10 years ago, I would be like, no, I'm Spanish. Oh, but what's your last name? And then I would tell them my last name, and they'd be like, that's an Indian name. And I'd be like, oh, really? I didn't know. But like, so like, it's gotten a little bit easier, kind of hard too, because same thing once again is they'll kind of be like, oh, where are you from? What's your, like, you know, like, where's your dad from? And all this stuff, which was hard, again, because I didn't know. And I would always say that as well. I would be like, I'm Indian and Italian. I don't know much about my Indian side, so it is what it is. But now I feel more comfortable saying it. I think it's a unique background, and I think that I should be proud of it. So I am very proud of my background. And if there's any questions, or any, like, even from people from high school, if you have questions or anything about that, if you're seeing this and you're like, oh damn, this girl was Indian the whole time, I didn't even know, come talk to me. I will more than likely be able to tell you all about growing up and how I grew up, and I'll maybe do a video on that too, like growing up in a single mom household. We went to like a really good elementary school, I guess it would be called good. It was hard for us because, as I said earlier in the video, everybody had both sets of parents. It was nuclear families, predominantly white, Italian, European, and there was like no single parents. My mom and my best friend's mom were the only ones who were single. A little bit into like it, more people got single, but in the beginning it was just me and my best friend that had single parents. Now I feel like there's single parents, there's gay parents, there's adoptive parents, there's grandparents that are raising kids. It's very different compared to 20 years ago, I would say, which is a great thing, because I don't feel like kids that come from single parent households feel that pressure that we felt growing up, because they have another friend of different people, which would make it so much easier. I feel like if I was to go to high school now, I don't think I would have lied about my background. I think I would have been comfortable with it, which is kind of sad, but like the truth at the same time. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. And if you have any questions and you want to hear any more about that, feel free. This was just a short little tidbit of information, and if you want to hear more, I'll have another episode coming up very, very soon. Let me know what you guys want to talk about. Let me know if you have questions, put them in the comments, and I will try to get to them as much as possible, and I'll see you soon.